This is Stephan from SK Mouthpieces in New York City. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Today's video is going to be about an Otto Link Double Ring from the 50s that I've been refacing and opening for a client. But first, if you've not yet subscribed to this channel and you like the content, please subscribe, and also please give me a thumbs up. The first thing I do when I reface a mouthpiece is I measure the mouthpiece and I write down the facing numbers that I get. That way I get a pretty good idea of what I want to do with the mouthpiece, and I get a pretty good idea of what the mouthpiece plays like if I haven't played it before. The numbers on the left side are my gauge thickness in thousandths of an inch, and on the right is what I think is an ideal facing for this particular mouthpiece. So these two areas that I'm scratching off here show what I consider to be the problem areas in this facing. The beginning of the facing, it starts with 52, and then for the first bunch of numbers, the facing is pretty much too dark. There's too much low frequency for this part of the facing, and then towards the tip, it's too bright for that part of the facing. So altogether, that gives you a mouthpiece that plays a little bit like a duck call, and it sounds a little bit like it has that weird, like, slappy brightness that's not super great. So the first grit sandpaper I start working with is 400 grit, and that's so I can really get moving on the table. I want to move the table down so I can shorten the facing up a little bit. Basically, I'm refacing the first pass here, so I'm just like roughly putting the facing in place. After the 400 grit, the numbers pretty much look the way that I want them to. You can see here that I brought the table down so far that it's down to 98 now, and the client actually wanted it opened up to 106, so I'm bending it open. Now I need to shape the tip rail and the side rail so they actually match the reed, and I start working on the baffle. I want to define the corners inside a little better and shape it up. On the outside, I sand off the sides. I worked on them with a file, and I just want to make sure that it looks nice. So I do this with 400 grit and then go finer and finer, and then I polish it in the end with this machine. So now I'm at 800 grit sandpaper, and I basically refaced the mouthpiece one more time. That means I start on the table and bring the table down a little further again. So everything shifts every time I do a pass with finer and finer sandpaper. This is 1500. Now I'm at 2000 grit. That way you really get to all the points in between the numbers that I measure. And you're able to get a really accurate facing like this. So I continue with different grits of sandpaper and end up at 7,000. If you're interested in having your mouthpiece refaced or just having a conversation with me about refacing mouthpieces, you can contact me through my website, skmouthpieces.com. So I'm just polishing off the mouthpiece right now. I'll also wash it off, and then I'll play test it. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you taking the time to follow my channel. I'll see you in the next video.